So Cameron, thank you for sitting down with us. Congratulations on the election successfully and being named mayor.
Thank you.
And talk to me a little bit about, you've been mayor 3 times before?
Twice.
You've been mayor twice before, so this is your 3rd term. Talk to me about how the city's changed since the last time you were mayor. I believe it was 2005.
Yeah, I think several things. I mean, the big thing is the city has changed from a size. In the last 11 years with growth and annexations, the city is much larger than it was in 2005. And some of the issues have changed. Certainly, you continue to have some of the basic issues that we always have when it comes to traffic and youth sports fields and needing more local jobs and that. But some of the other issues have changed, not necessarily because of anything that the city has done, but actions taken, for example, at the state level with the passage of AB 109 and I believe Prop 57, which has allowed for the early release of a large number of, quote, nonviolent offenders, and they've been released into our community as well as others. And when you talk to our law enforcement, they'll tell you you've seen an uptick in crime, and much of it is still property crime driven because those offenses were drug related, and many of those folks that were released early are probably still have issues with drug use and are relying on property crimes to feed that habit. And so those are some of the things that you notice that have changed. But you have still a lot of the same people still working at City Hall, which is great to see, and it speaks to the commitment that people have here and that want to work at the city. But working, so I think those are some of the changes. But it still felt pretty comfortable that first day, sitting in the chairs and getting used to it.
You mentioned some important law changes that the voters, statewide voters, had authorized as far as 109 and then 47 and then 57. And this has obviously always been an area where public safety has been a high priority. The funding has always been also a priority, but do you see that even becoming a bigger priority with the coming, with the challenges?
Sure. When I was on the council before, one of the things we bragged about was that we spent more money on Parks and Rec than we did on law enforcement, and we're yet one of the safest cities in the country. And I as much as we want to try to continue that, as times change and the city changes, we have to make sure that funding law enforcement is a top priority, and not just. And it's how do we fund law enforcement? What are the resources that are needed here in Santa Clarita? It's different than funding law enforcement in Lancaster or funding law enforcement in the San Fernando Valley. What are the needs specifically to Santa Clarita? And I want to make sure that as we go through our budget, that the priorities and the needs are being allocated appropriately so that we can tackle the types of crimes, the types of needs that our local department has.
How have you changed as a legislator in the last 10 or 11 years since well, to clarify for people that don't know, you were elected to city council 2 terms.
Correct.
And then you were elected to the assembly for 3 terms.
Correct.
Termed out from 2006 2012 because state term limits.
Right.
And then you've been working with Molina since then, Molina Healthcare.
Correct. Been in the private sector since.
Okay. And so talk to me about how those experiences have kind of shaped your return back to city council.
One aspect that you didn't bring up that has generated the greatest shift in me is the fact that I now have 3 kids, and being a parent has and anyone who is goes through that, it fundamentally changes who you are and how you view all aspects of your life. And so I think that's a big fundamental change of when I was on the city council before.
And you had mentioned family, and I know your father was a longtime superintendent out here. You guys kind of have different personas in the public, from my understanding. I didn't know him very well, but just impressions that I get. Can you talk to me about his influence on you and how you're kind of a little bit different, maybe?
Sure. Well, I think some of it is the time of my life that I was, on the city council. When I was first elected, I was 28 years old. My father was, over 70 when he was first elected, or in his late 60s. And so obviously you're going to be a different person from that time in your life. But my dad obviously was a huge influence on both, not just me, but my brother. And many of the ways that I try to govern, I did kind of emulate through him. And one of the quotes that he said that have always stuck with me is that the public's business always needs to be done in public. And so that is something that I've always tried to do. The idea of, you have your belief system and you stick with it. And, as long as you can justify, why you're coming at an issue from a certain way, that's okay. And, to not get too caught up into the politics or other issues. If you believe in something, stand up for it. And, and if the voters don't like it, well, at least you can live with yourself. And then just being open, having an open door policy that I do my best to return every email, every call. If I'm at the city, people want to meet, my door is open. I may not always agree with you, but you will always know that at least your voice was heard and you were able to make your case. And then you will know why if I can't agree with you, you'll know why. And so, it is important. My dad, my dad actually was, I think we have a lot of similarities from a sense of humor standpoint, an ability to read a room, and to, while we take the jobs very seriously, maybe not take ourselves, as seriously as others might. But it was nice. I'm sorry that that he's not here to see me come back. But it was nice that he was around to see that I became mayor twice and he only did it once. So that was important to me.
And speaking about that, because you do kind of have that reputation as somebody who can see the humor in a situation and understand that while we're talking about serious issues and you're dealing with serious business, sometimes it's okay to have a little lip. Is that part of do you think attributed to your success in the 3 terms in the Assembly? I mean, is that something that you look at as something that you try? You know what I mean? To actively,
it's just something I think that it's who I am, and I've always kind of been that way. That, like I said, I take this job very seriously, and I recognize the issues are critically important. But I also think there is a balance, and you can still do the job and tackle serious issues with a smile on your face, and know that we are very fortunate, and I'm very thankful to have this job, and it's one that, like I said, I do take seriously. But you don't have to always take yourself so seriously, because there are much more serious issues than we're dealing with when like I say, my brother's in the military, and this time of year with people that are away from home and are making much greater sacrifices, whether it be in law enforcement, military, our friends in the medical community that are saving lives. Those are real serious, and but it's important to still have a little bit of fun when you're doing the job.
Now, you noted that you were there to kind of bring a new representation and a new council to the city council, and as far as that parent perspective, and obviously the parents share some of the same concerns that our current council members do, but there are some differences. That's why, again, that change is necessary. Talk to me a little bit about where you see maybe some differences you can bridge between moving forward with the city council.
Well, I think one of the things I also wanted to bring while running was that with the cities changing, that we need to, as a council, really start focusing on the bigger picture issues. There was a time when the council could afford to maybe get a little bit more into the weeds on art projects or development in terms of what type of architecture and all. I mean, and those are all important things. But we have a plan. We have commissions now, to do that. And I think it's important that the council starts looking at the big picture issues, like we talked about public safety and law enforcement. That I kind of feel that the city is at a transition point, and we're at a crossroads, and the decisions we make now are going to set the city up one way or another for the next decade or so. And so I think it's important that we focus kind of on those big picture issues, but also, again, just bringing that perspective of someone who is in the weeds every day at Central Park, dealing with school, dealing with driving across town, dealing with the issues of what kids are going through today, from the drug use that's available to our kids, and the social media pressures that our kids face that I didn't face, or some of the other council members' kids did not face. And so I think it's that's a perspective that I can offer that can help shape the agenda with the city moving forward. And I think it's great that we have a city manager who's very much in a similar position with 4 young kids. So he lives that life as well. And so it's important to have kind of your chief executive in concert with a majority of your population as well.
Thanks, Cameron. Is there anything else you'd like to kind of mention in closing as far as looking forward to 2017?
Well, I think the first thing first job we have right off the bat is to fill the vacancy that's been left. It's important that we operate with a full 5-member council, and so that's something that we'll be tackling right off the bat in 2017. And I thought, there was a lot of different discussion about the best pathway to do that, and once you put all the data together, it really for me was clear that we should do an appointment process by the council, because spending between $350,000 and $400,000 on a special election that'll probably have less than a 10% turnout for a position that will then have to be reelected, if you will, 16 months later, didn't really make sense. And I believe a community panel that was done before, I honestly believe is kind of an abdication of our responsibility as a council, because it's simple to say, you know what, we're going to have a citizens committee do it, kind of wipe our hands of it, and if the voters don't like the appointment, well, that wasn't our fault. You can't blame us. But I believe the council is the most accountable body to the people, and so if we make an appointment, the voters don't like that appointment, they still have some recourse, whether it be at the ballot box or others. And so I thought that was important that I articulate why I support going with a council appointment process as opposed to what we did last year, or not last year, but last time we faced this issue, or going
because
to a
of
special.
some young upstart.
Yeah, I know that shook it up a little bit. And
well, you brought it up, so I'm going to have to ask you one more question. Then, what? There's again been a lot of discussion about the city council's next representative. What do you see as some of the qualities you're looking for as somebody who's going to be making that decision?
Sure, I think it's great because you can have kind of a clean slate. It will first obviously have to see who actually applies, but I certainly would like to see someone who shares the love for the city, has some experience in one field. Or it doesn't have to be. You don't have to have been in elected office. You don't have to be a business owner. I'm very open, and that's the first priority, is that you have a love for the city, you have a capacity to learn. That's the biggest thing I think when I got elected is, even someone like me who had, my dad was around, was on the council, and I worked for a legislature and I was around it. There's still so much to learn. And so someone who has that capacity to learn and the willingness to learn. And it's important that, that someone who applies really understands what they're getting into. It is, like I said, it's a great job, but there is a lot of work behind the scenes. I know this comes as a shock, but sometimes elected officials get criticized, and you have to be willing to understand that is part of is part of the deal. It's not just ribbon cuttings and and groundbreakings, and so that's important to me as well. But I'm open. I'm excited to see who turns in their application and getting to know everybody.
Awesome. We'll certainly look forward to that in January. Thanks for talking to us, Cameron.
Thank you very much.